Okay, so having finished few chapters, so up to now, whatever we have covered in the previous videos, we have covered the about the introduction to the programming concept. We have covered introduction to C chapter. Then we have solved a few programs to understand that. Then we have focused on the decision control and looping statements chapter. Then again, I have solved few programs for each of the loops like while loop, do while loop, for loop, if else, all these iterative statements we have solved both the theoretical part and the practical part. The next chapter, that is the fourth chapter or the fourth topic, which we will study under this C tutorial, is the topic or the chapter which is named as functions. Okay, so this is the next chapter, functions. Again, I will be explaining the theory part and then we will be solving a few programs in order to clear the theory part. Okay. So what is this function all about? Now, C enables the programmers to break up a program into several segments. Now, suppose there is a program and it is broken into several segments. Now, these segments are known as functions. Okay, because each of which can be written more or less independently of others. Suppose I have a calculator program. There I can multiply, I can divide, I can add, I can subtract, the basic four. So these four I can write independently as four different functions. Instead of writing everything inside the main, inside the main just can write the name of the function, and whenever the name of the function will arrive, automatically the cursor will jump to where the function is declared. So I can write the addition function separately, I can write the subtraction function, multiplication function, division function, all these four segments I can write separately and I can merge this in a single program. This is the concept of a function. Now, every function, it is supposed to perform a well-defined task because addition function will do additions, multiplication function will do multiplications. So in my program, whatever functions I write, each and every function will have a well-defined task to do. So therefore, the code of one function is completely insulated, or it is like छुपा के रखते हैं हम लोग. So the code of one function is completely insulated from the codes of other functions. So one function's code should never affect other functions' code because functions are written independently. Now, how is that possible? Suppose I have a main function from where I write everything. Suppose my main is starting over here and it is ending over here. Okay, there is the return zero statement over here. Fine. Here a lot of codes are written, here a lot of things are written, and a lot of things are written. Here, suppose I am calling one function which I have named as func1. Okay, you can give anything as your function name. Here I am given func1 as the name. So this is the way, func1 bracket open bracket close, then semicolon. Then again I am writing this. So this is the main inside which I am calling the function. Now below this main, in this space, there is no space, so I am writing over here. There you need to write whatever function will do, that statement block you need to write inside the function block. Suppose your function is doing addition. So here you will write everything related to the addition. You do not need to write everything inside the main. From main, you will just call this function. Whenever the cursor will get a function call, automatically it will jump to where the function is declared and defined. Here, it will go on executing whatever is there. And from here, it will return here. And then under this, other things that are written are executed. So the main function, it calls a function whose name is func1. So the main is the calling function. So main is the calling function and my func1 is the called function. One is being called and another is calling. So inside the main, I am calling the function. So main is the calling function and my func1 function is being called by the main. So my func1 is the called function. So the moment the compiler encounters a function call, instead of executing whatever statements are below, the next statement, instead of executing the next statements below the calling function, whatever inside the calling function is there, whenever the compiler encounters a function call, it won't execute below these statements. It will directly jump to where the function is written. The control will jump to the statements that are part of the called function. After the called function is executed, the control is again returned back to the calling function. Then after this, all the statements below will be executed. So the control, whenever it will encounter a function call, it will jump to where the function is written. It will execute whatever is written inside that function and it will return from that function, and then the below statements will be executed. And this main, it can call as many function as it wants and as many times as it wants. Here inside main, you can have like this func1, you can have func2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you can have innumerable number of functions inside this main. You can call this function also innumerable number of times. It depends on you and whatever your program is demanding. Okay. Again, not only main, suppose inside this function, you are again calling another function named func2. So whenever the compiler will encounter this line, again it will grow to where the func2 lines or func2 function statements have been defined. So it is not like you can only call the functions from inside the main. You can call functions from inside any other function. Okay. So this is the way how the function call is done. Now, what is the meaning of these function calls, or why are we actually doing or dividing our task into separate functions? Then what is this function declaration, function prototype? These all we will discuss now. Suppose, as I was saying, that suppose this is my main. Okay. Inside this main, something code lines of codes are written, and I am calling function 1 over here. Then again, some lines of codes are written like this. Okay. Okay. Suppose you can write the function 1 declaration definitions over here, but I am just writing side by side. Okay. When you will do in programs, you cannot write side by side. Just below, after below, you will write everything. So suppose you have something written in your function 1. From here, you can call function 2. Okay. Then suppose you have written something in function 2. Okay. From here, you can call your function 3. Okay. Then suppose you have written something in your function 3. Fine. So whenever the cursor will come over here inside the main, it will go to here. Whenever the cursor will come over here, it will directly go to here. Whenever the cursor will come over here, it will directly go to here. So after everything is executed, it will return back. After everything is executed, it will return back. After everything is executed, it will return back, and then these statements below the function one in the main is executed and the result is getting. Okay. So this is the example how you can call different functions from different other functions as well. And you can call, suppose you inside the main you are calling func1, you can call func2, you can call func3, so like this. Okay. Now, why are we doing that? Dividing a program in separate well-defined function facilitates that each function to be written and tested separately. It will simplify the process of getting the total program to work. Suppose I have a main function and I am dividing this function among function A, function B, and function C. Okay. Again, I am dividing function B into function B1, function B2. Fine. Now, suppose this function A can be written and tested independently. This function C can be written and tested independently. Suppose I have written and tested function A, function C, I have merged together and there is no problem. Again, I am merging with that function B, but then I am seeing there is a problem in my output. Then I can easily identify that function B is the root of the problem which caused my error. Because otherwise, function A and C, when I was merging and executing, there was no error. So I will have to only see what is the error in function B, right? Similarly, so like this, when you divide a set of program into several functions and you can test several functions independently, you can understand or it can simplify the process of getting the entire program to work correctly. So understanding, coding, testing multiple separate functions are far easier than, suppose this function A consists of 200 lines, this function B consists of 300 lines, and this function C consists of 250 lines. So if you can find the error inside 200 lines, is it better, or it is better that you need to find the error between 750 lines? Obviously, finding between 200 lines, the error is better. So this is the reason when we divide the big program into separate, comparatively smaller functions, the different programmers, they are working on the project. So when we divide a program into several functions, I can suppose I have a big project. For making this function, I have taken 200 employees. For making this function, I have taken 100 employees. For making this function, I have taken 50 employees. So I will give this 200 employees this task, this 100 employees this task, this 50 employees this task, and I can parallelly start them doing. After they are done, I can compile and find the error. If error occurs in section A, I will only discuss it with this 200 employees and will not disturb the rest. So whenever we have a bigger project to handle, if I can divide my program into separate modules, I can divide the workload also. I can get faster results also. This is the reason why this concept of functions came. Okay. Now, having understood why the concept of function came, we need to understand a few things. Now, whenever we have a function f and it calls another function, suppose g, now this f will become the calling function. Whenever one function will call another function, that function will become the calling function, and whoever is called from another function, that will become the called function, right? So this is the concept between the calling function and the called function. Now the inputs of whenever I will call a function, I will have to give it some inputs, right? It has to get, ऐसे ही फंक्शन कॉल कर दिए, कुछ वैल्यूज नहीं दिए, कुछ भी नहीं दिए, तो काम क्या करेगा, है ना? So whatever input that a function takes, it is known as arguments or parameters. Okay. So when a called function, it returns some result back to the calling function, it is said that the called function has returned the result. The calling function may or may not pass the parameters to the called function. If the called function has a format that it will accept some arguments, then only the calling function will pass the parameters. Else, it will not pass any parameters. So it is not mandatory that each and every time the calling function has to pass certain parameters to the called function. If the called function is written in a way that it needs to take some parameter values, then the calling function will pass it. Otherwise, it won't pass it. Now, two concepts are there. One is function declaration. Another is function definition. Okay. What is function declaration? Function declaration, it identifies a number, a function, sorry. It identifies a function. What was declaration of variable? Same declaration of function is also there. It will identify a function with a name. The function will have a name. The function will have the list of parameters or the list of arguments that it will take, that it accepts. It will also have the type of data that it will return. If the function is returning anything, it will help, it will, in the declaration part, you need to specify the type of data it returns. So these all will go in function declaration. Fine. So whenever we were declaring a variable, we write int I. Why? Because I is the name of the variable and int is the data type of the values this I can take, right? Similarly, whenever you will declare a function, you need to give the function name, the list of arguments it will accept, the type of data it will return, so like this. And what is function definition? Function definition, it consists of a function header that will identify the function followed by the body of the function containing the executable code for that function. That means whenever we were calling a function, the cursor was jumping to where the function is defined. So this is the header. There was bracket open, bracket close. This is the body of my called function. So this is the function definition. This is the definition of the function where the function header will be there, the body, that means the statements that will be executed, the executable codes that will be inside this function. These all will be written within some brackets. So this is function definition. That is what the work the function will do. And this is function declaration. That is, before using this func1, we need to declare the func1 also. So there is two concepts. First, before main, you need to declare your function. And then from inside main, you can call your function. And after that, you need to define your function. That is, whatever work your function will do. Fine. Okay. So how writing this function definition is very easy, right? We just need to write the name, and inside the name, whatever blocks of code we need to do this function to do, we will just write those blocks of code. But how do you write the function declaration? So first we will study that. How do you write the function declaration or the prototype? So before using a function, the compiler must know about the number of parameters and the type of parameters that the function expects to receive, and the data type of the value that it will return to the calling function. So placing the function declaration statement prior to its use, it will enable the compiler to make a check on the arguments used while calling the function. जैसे तुम वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर कर रहे हो इंट आई और वेरिएबल का फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफाई दे रहे हो परसेंटेज एफ, देयर विल बी अ मिसमैच. So why do we declare the variables first? So that the compiler can find out what is the mismatch between the formats and the arguments which we have passed. Similarly, before using a function, you need to declare the function, because if you declare the function first, then the compiler will have a check whether the function declared is matching with the function definition or not. In the declaration part, you have specified that two integer variables will be passed, and in the function definition part, you have passed one variable as integer and one variable as float. Then there's a mismatch. In the function declaration, you have passed that the return type will be of float, and in the function definition, you are saying that return type is of int. Then there is a mismatch. In order to understand what this mismatch is, again we need to declare that. So the function declaration is a very crucial part. How the function declaration is made? Normal variable declarations, how do you give? You give the data type, you give the name, right? Then the semicolon. This is the easiest way. In function, what do? First, you give the return data type. You write the return data type. Fine. Then you give the function name. Whatever function name you want to give, you give it. Fine. Then you give the data type, variable 1, data type, variable 2, data type, variable 3, like this, as many number of variables you want to use. Bracket close and semicolon. Suppose your return data type is int, so you will give int. Your function name is addition. You give the name addition. And for adding, you are only using, suppose, two variables. Both of them are of integer. So int variable 1 I have named as A, variable 2 I have named as B. Suppose, bracket close, semicolon. So this is the way how you declare the function or write the prototype of the function. Okay, the return data type of the function, the name of the function, and how many variables you will give. You just write comma by comma, and with each variable name, you just give the data type of the variable also. And once you are done, you just put this semicolon. Fine. Now, what is the function name will do? This function name, it will be a valid name for the function. That means by seeing this function name, the user will understand that, okay, this function has to do something with some addition, right? What is the return data type? Now, this return data type, it will specify the data type of the value that will be returned from my called function to the calling function. What type of data type of value is returned as a result of processing the called function. Suppose from function 1, you have called function 2. So after processing of function 2, something will be returned from to function 1. So the data type of this value, which will be returned after the processing of this called function to the calling function, that data type value is specified over here, return data type. Fine. And you can see data type and variable name, data type and variable name. These data types, these are the data types of the variables that will be passed from the calling function to the called function. What data types or what data type of the parameters will be. Suppose someone is sending 2.32, this won't be executed. Someone is sending 4, this will be executed. Why? Because the data type was int, so I can only send value integers, not decimals. So this checking it will do. The variables or the arguments which we can pass from the calling function to the called function, what data types can be passed of the parameters, this declaration part will check it. Okay. And this function definition, function name, you can give it anything according to your wish. I just gave addition, just a simple name. You can give anything, just the naming conventions of naming of variables which you have learned. Using that, you can give any name to your function. Okay. So this was the basic part about what is the need of function, what is function declaration. This is the basic part. In the next video, we will carry on with more detailed part about what is all this function calling is all about. Okay, hope you have understood it.